is the 182 graves that were unidentified graves that were found at Occam at St. Eugene Mission Residential School. And just to remind folks to work with our First Nations neighbors, friends, respectfully, and Occam leadership has certainly asked for patience and respect as they work through their understanding of what it is they've uncovered. And I would encourage everybody tomorrow to make themselves available for the city's reconciliation walk. So by lining 2nd and 3rd Avenue, so that the Ktunaxa folks from Tobacco Plains will be here. It will be very difficult for them, of course, to come, given the recent findings. And but make yourself, if you can, make yourself available to participate in that. It's a very important moment in Canadian history, and I think we all need to be here if we can. So as I said, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to be here with Troy. Troy and I both grew up in Fernie, and our paths crossed weirdly over the years. I would say we've only become fast friends in the last few years, and strangely, we both work in coal mining. We worked as summer students, and then we both went to Lethbridge College and studied in the journalism program there, the creative arts program there, where Troy took on the mantle of political cartoonist for the Endeavour newspaper, a role I'd had a couple of years earlier, which was weird. But for those of you who've been upstairs, you can see somebody pursued an artistic bent, and somebody didn't.
There's still time now.
Thank you, Troy.
Kirk Hampson started building stuff quite late. Just saying.
Thank you. That's very encouraging, and I appreciate that. So having both grown up in Fernie, and we've both been coal miners, and we've both been immersed in that milieu, that culture, if you will. Go back a few years, many years, the distant misty past. You grew up in what we used to call Little Italy. How has your experience of growing up in Fernie formed you as an artist?
Well, that's a good one. That's a nice broad one. Why is the sky blue? Well, good, the train will give me a minute to think.
This is the part where you talk.
Well, I guess, it's kind of an advantage because I was able to see the change that happened in town over the years. Growing up in the North End was full of kids back in the day, and mostly Italian families, so I was adopted by them more or less, or you sink or swim, or with the Italian folks, either you can play road hockey or you end up dead. So wow. So yeah, it's and then growing up around coal miners. I mean, when we were growing up, I didn't know that there wasn't really sort of like a class. Everybody was in the same boat. So when there was a strike, everybody suffered the same. But you didn't look at it as suffering. So it wasn't until like much later in high school when you started to go, hey, there's people with money and there's people without money. It wasn't really like that growing up. So that was kind of nice that there wasn't those, boundaries that were set by money. It was more about if you're a good road hockey player or not, and if you could learn to swear in Italian, which I did well. I was buffunguing way before I was telling people to fuck off. And I didn't know the difference. I came home one day and I told my mom buffungu, and she got the liquid soap out. Yeah. So yeah, it was the family thing was great. In Little Italy, you'd get everybody got invited to everything. So you go to like Christmas and there would be 20 families there, a big table of food. I don't know that people do that as much as they did back then, but that was common. Every Sunday you went somewhere and had a big meal and hung out with cool people, and lots of love and lots of amazing times in the North End. And it's gone now. There's a few families there now, but it's all a thing of the past, just memory. So yeah, that's definitely been with me my whole life, and yeah, I do feel honored and privileged that I got to grow up there and was accepted by those folks, because a lot of people weren't. Like there was an English family who lived over near me. They didn't fare well in Little Italy. So yeah.
Well, and on that journey, what was the trigger for you? Like when did you realize this is what I want to do? I want to pursue art. I want to paint, or I want to write, or as they say, Troy's quite a polymath. He writes, he paints, he's a musician, he's written operas, he's all over the map. Like, it's a huge body of work. But where was the trigger?
My grandmother used to encourage me big time to paint and draw and do whatever and be super creative. So I think I was around 9. I told her I was going to be an artist, and it was weird too because my brother told her he wanted to be a cook, like a chef, and we both became kind of what we wanted. At the end of the day, we stuck to that until today. Yeah. So yeah, Granny probably helped a lot there. My dad had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and as you say, there's still time for me.
There is, yep. You can still get some finger paint. Start you out there.
And I say that because Troy and I and Keith and Kevin participated. This is some years ago now. We participated in what's called the 3-day novel competition. And
The Death Right.
The Death Right, yeah. Is Pierre still here? And Pierre lent us his house on the Slocan River, and we went there. And the idea is Deb cooked. Yeah, best piece of lamb I ever ate in my life. And you start at 6 o'clock on the Friday night on the September long weekend, and you write until midnight on the Sunday night. And yeah, it was quite an experience. Really enjoyed it. We call it the Death Right because Troy, of course, can't just call it the writing weekend. It's got to be something phenomenally scary.
Well, and we did find, indication that Pierre had some bodies buried thereabouts. So I was like, what is that, jewelry there for in the windowsill? I'm sure that's someone that's buried in the yard. So.
Yeah. Don't look in the well house.
Beating up Pierre, and he's not even here.
I know.
The pump house is gone. He got rid of the evidence.
After we busted him, yeah, for sure.
So you've, the elephant in the room, of course, is you've been very open about your illness over the last couple of years, and for those of sorry?
Yes.
Yeah. So for those of us who've gone up to look at your show and we're familiar with your work from before, how has that changed your approach to art and your thinking about art and your, because you did 29 paintings in 40 days. As I think I said earlier, that's biblical in proportion. So
That's Laurie's fault. I blame Laurie for that. Well, I guess once I got cancer, it was all or nothing. I mean, you have, like I say, you have a choice. Either you accept it and try and figure out how to live and deal with it, or you just, hide from it, I guess. I've seen people hide from it, and I'm not that guy, so it was much easier for me just to say, talk about it and be open about it. It's way easier to be more realistic and learn from it than anything. And it's taught me a lot. So, and one of the things it's taught me is to be more open about what I do with my music and my art, and those lyrics that I chose for the songs are, a lot of it's very personal, and I relate big time to some of those lyrics. So it's just part of the journey that I'm on right now to look at those things and express those things through my art. And like I looked at my buddy Paul Dewar and people like Gord Downey, and all in the same boat, and they're all gone now, and how they stood up and at the end and did the journey correctly. And I'm trying to follow those examples and follow in their footsteps if I can.
well, we certainly hope it's not the end.
Well, they'll tell you at the hospital, you're going to die eventually.
We all will. Thank you. There's still time for me, Troy.
You got finger paint to do before you go there.
So this is another open-ended question. So,
Great.
Maybe another coal train will go by.
Let's hope.
So, people often talk about the role of the artist in society and what you're trying to achieve. What are you hoping to achieve with this show, for example? Maybe it's a two-part question. What are you hoping to achieve with the art overall, and what are you hoping to achieve with this show? And what would you like people to walk away with from the show?
Well, it was interesting when I started doing examining the lyrics for the show. I was like, there's a lot of bands and a lot of songs that people don't know about. So it was like an opportunity to go, here's a painting about this great song by this band you might not know. So I was able to share that. So that was one of those positive things that happened that I never even thought about at the time, and then building the Spotify list to go with the show. But it was more about, those lyrics have deep meaning to me, some of them, and really wanted to see if I could do them justice through through my lens, I guess. And it's just part of, what you do when you're making art. You just keep building and creating and trying new stuff. And I tried lots of new stuff with the show. And the room was, just lend itself to that kind of big canvases, and you could just about do anything. And nobody was telling me what to do, which was great. So I was just like wide open, just give her.
Yeah, well, if anything, that's one of the roles of an artist in society is hopefully nobody's telling you what to do. You're seeking your own path.
Yeah.
And there is a real, I don't know if anyone else has had the experience, there's a real sort of meta experience in the gallery when you're listening to the music and you're looking at the lyrics on the piece. What were you hoping to have people experience there? Is it connecting to the song or connecting
Well,
to
it's
the
weird
art?
because when I started doing the work, I'd start every day with Charlie Parker. I'd play Charlie Parker for like half the day. And then I'd start doing like, the odd song, go, oh, I should do something with that. But then there was like, my energy would be down in the afternoon and I was painting and I'd, put on something crazy like the Pixies or Block Party, and I was like dancing around, the headphones on, going, hey, that would be good just to put in there for no apparent reason other than you're in the gallery and that song pops on and you feel like dancing. So if somebody wants to dance around my paintings, I thought that would be hilarious. So that's kind of what some of those songs ended up, why they were in the playlist.
Yeah,
So-
to that point, to a very great degree, it's a bit of a tour of Troy's head.
Yeah, for sure. At the time while I was painting, I mean, like I said, I could have done 29 paintings just about from Sparklehorse songs or Vic Chestnut songs, because those guys, amazing lyrics and so many different visual sort of cues and images. Or a guy like Sting, I don't think he gets enough credit for his lyrics. His lyrics are fantastic. So yeah, and it's like Gord Downey in a documentary talks about his love of the Bee Gees, and he's like one of those bands you're not supposed to like and tell people. Well, I think Sting's the same way for me. It's like one of those things that. So you gotta kind of like let it rip and go, hey, check it out.
Don't hide your love of things that
Yeah,
may not be
exactly.
widely
Yeah.
accepted.
Yeah, for sure. And if people don't like them, fuck them.
That's a motto we could all live by. Don't like them? Fuck them. So did you plan, or was it more organic? Did you set out your day like, I'm gonna paint X, or did the music inform the work as you moved forward?
Well, I would plan the work, and then because I had a short period of time to paint, I had to deal with oil painting first. So a lot of it was construct around getting those paintings done first, and then the sort of more primitive style stuff came after with acrylic paint, because it was all about, time, drying, those types of things had to be thought through. So there's 3 or 4 stations in my house with different paintings at different stages. And then I would be like, okay, that'll be, ready to work on in 4 days. So trying to find somewhere to put it to make it dry quicker. And yeah, so it was all like, technical for most of it, just to get things done in a short period of time.
Is there a, again, two-part question, is there a piece in this show that you're most pleased with or that resonates most with you? And is there a piece in your career that your mind goes back to, like, I wish I could?
Well, the Talking Heads one was, because that got away on me a little bit, to the point where I was like, almost didn't put it in the show until I kind of sat back and looked at it, because I was just like, I was really letting that one just be itself and come out of me without like any kind of preconceived idea for some of it. Just letting the paint and the mood of what I was doing, you know, loud music playing, and just really absorbed me. And then I stood back and go, okay, this one's gonna fucking scare people. I should maybe figure out how to bring it back a little bit. So I think I managed to do that. So that's probably the one I like the best.
Well, and the one I've heard, I think the most comments on since I've been sitting here this evening is the one that, as you exit the gallery,
Yeah.
and the quote is, you said it's from a national song, "Sorrow Found Me When I Was Young."
Yeah.
Talk a bit about that piece, because that's really, people have commented on that more than any other piece in the show, I think.
Well, I think when I was growing up, I didn't really acknowledge the fact that there was probably some low-level depression in my life, and my household wasn't always the cheeriest place to be. So, and that's probably one of the reasons I, you know, hid in my room and painted and drew and was more creative, just to stay out of the fray of what was going on. You know, my dad being on strike and money problems and that kind of stuff, and there was lots of arguing, and yeah. So when I heard that lyric, I was like, I completely, just like it was written for me. So yeah, when I did the show, it was one of the first things I wrote down. I got to do something about that. And I had like a complex idea, and then I was in the yard one day with that canvas, and I just thought, I'm going to try something. And then there it was. There was the image. I thought, we'll go with that particular lyric. And it was super simple, and I thought, well, maybe that's okay. So, and then the more I looked at it, the more I liked it, and went with it.
Yeah. Well, I'm reminded just in your conversation there that there's a Mountain Goats album, The Sunset Tree, and there's a song about the whole album is constructed around an abusive stepfather, and when the protagonist is hiding in his room, he's got his record player, and he realizes that's what the volume knob is for, right?
Yeah.
Cut his father-in-law out of his life, as it were.
I had a black and white TV. I used to watch Charlie Chaplin films. After school, they run. I don't know why. For many years, they would be like from.
You're not that old, Troy.
4 o'clock till. Well, many years in high school, in elementary school, they play like Charlie Chaplin films. So I've watched those over and over again. Like I've seen every Charlie Chaplin film probably 20 times. Because I'd come home and I'd have, you know, rabbit ears. I could hide in my room and, you know, make weird pictures and write weird shit and watch Charlie Chaplin films and listen to, you know, back in the day when you had the sports Walkman and you could turn it up to 60. And I'm sure I have hearing loss because of my Sony Sports Walkman. So probably illegal to use now.
Well, Frank Turner, in a lyric of his, he talks about don't be too kind to your kids, otherwise they won't grow up to be artists, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's some truth to that, I think, maybe. Or alcoholics, one of the two. Hey, in my case, you get both, right? So.
Because there is the one lyric on the rabbit painting. I hope I get it right. I wish I was sober.
Yeah, wish that I was sober.
Yeah, and that's from Frightened Rabbit?
Yep, Frightened Rabbit, Scott Hutchison song.
Talk about Scott Hutchison, because he had a big impact on you.
Oh, he's just such a brilliant writer. Like, I mean, for a pop song, like, you sit there and really analyze those lyrics, man. There's nobody writing at that level, really. And I don't think he got enough credit for it till after he passed away. So I was always enamored with the lyricist type stuff that he did. It was just amazing songwriter. And it was basically one-dimensional. He just wrote about his depression and how he's getting through those shitty experiences as he dealt with depression and stuff, right? And then in turn, people would listen to it and find a path. Like there's a thing called the Frightened Rabbit Recognition Group on Facebook, and people are on there helping each other all the time. It's not even about music anymore. It's just about the whole idea of taking care of each other because of that music, I guess. And then, yeah, I mean, just a tragic tale all the way through. Like I was telling you, he wrote Floating in the Fourth, which is a song about suicide. He basically said, here's, I'm going to wrote a song about how he was going to kill himself, and that's what he did. It's like, whoa, like, that's crazy. Like, and then it went down like that.
Yeah, for those who aren't aware, he threw himself off the bridge of the Firth of Forth. It's in eastern Scotland. It's one of those big, elegant arch bridges that will do nothing but kill you if you jump off it. So do you see your art as distinct? You're a writer, you're a painter, you're a musician, or are they all of a piece? Or do you compartmentalize them? Because I know historically you've you've mixed genres. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I used to think it was all, separate, but now I just treat it as one thing. And that's when I started writing more on the canvases, whether they were my lyrics or words or somebody else's. I was like sort of drawn to those, people like Jean-Michel Basquiat and people like that use words a lot and use them well. And I thought, okay, I think I'm at the point in my life where I can formulate words well enough that I can use them on the paintings. And so that's kind of where that came from. And now it's more like I'll write a song about a painting, or a painting will inspire a song, and then I can fuse the whole thing. And it doesn't. It used to bother me that it should be separate, but now I don't think like that anymore. I think it can all be one thing in a way.
Do they impede each other occasionally? Like you haven't got a song to a point where you want it, so you can't paint, or
yeah, well, that'll
do
happen.
they support one another?
Yeah, no, there's more supportive. I don't really hit walls very often.
Well, 29 paintings in 40 days.
You don't have time to hit a wall. Geez, I think I'll just stop for a week. No, that didn't happen. But that's never been an issue with me. I know a lot of people have to, have trouble cranking it out. I don't have any problem at all. I have trouble actually stopping.
Yeah.
It's like you get off the road after you're on tour and you're like, oh, fuck, thank God that's over with. And then you're like 5 minutes in the vehicle on the drive home and you're like, Jesus, I wish I had a gig tonight. It takes like minutes for me to switch back over and miss what I was doing. So it's the same with painting. There's already a painting back up on the canvas at home, and I'm already planning new stuff, so it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, because you said you've got a bunch of commissions sort of backed up.
Yeah, I got some commissions backed up, and I got new shows I'm planning, and lots going on.
Cool. So without constraint, so money isn't an object, resources not an object. What's your craziest idea for a project that you would like to do in your career?
Well, Jude and I are going to bring the Flaming Lips to Fernie. That's the craziest thing. That's not even that crazy. That's going to happen. So, but yeah, it's probably the biggest, craziest thing that's how I met you. Kevin McGuzik said, I know this guy in town that loves the Flaming Lips as much as you do. And then we were like best friends on the first day we met. It was crazy. So yeah, that might be the most ambitious thing that will happen eventually. And we were fucking close if it wasn't for COVID. So. We were both gonna okay, I'm willing to mortgage my fucking house. Let's do it. It'd be totally worth it too. So just to see that band here and share that experience, because wow, that'll change people's lives. It changed my life seeing them, 30 times or whatever it's been now.
Changed your life 30 times.
Yeah, I'm like a Flaming Lips head or whatever they call it. There's not really a name for us, but. What's that?
To the parking lot, bring them here.
Bring them here, yeah.
We have a stage here.
We could have Wayne do a DJ set in the parking lot. That might work.
Flaming Lips aside,
Yeah.
music, writing, painting, is there a grand project you can see yourself doing?
I had a couple of musicals I was writing, and I think Lindsay and I were working on one. We still might get back to that, about Bonanza, believe it or not. And it's kind of
vampires.
this fucked up story where Haas is like this anti-hero and he's killed this girl, and in order to be accepted back into the town, he has to go kill these vampires who are preying on the people of the town. So, and then it's this whole premise that that Bonanza is actually a fake sort of TV show to hide this vampire culture in this town, in Nevada. So yeah, we were working on that. It's pretty fucked up. But I'd written all the songs, and I'm like, I got to do something with this play Mike and I wrote together, and we're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a musical. And then we're like, let's do it at the art station. We're like, no, fuck that. Let's do it at the Northern. So we're gonna do a musical at the bar.
Very cool.
That was the plan. So I don't know if I got any. There's always crazy ideas. So.
Well, and you've got a novel in the works.
Yeah, I got a novel and two books of art that are coming out. They're both kind of done. I just have to find the money and the time to. Now that the show's done, I'm going to concentrate on the book about the stuff I was doing when I was sick, when I first got sick, on Instagram. So
Yeah, that was sort of the Instagram post that you're going to turn into a book.
that's happening pronto.
When?
Like hopefully by September. Or Clyde's going to disown me as his friend. So.
Oh, that was like crap.
Okay, the art show's over, man. Get this fucking book done. Okay, buddy.
So, if there was a piece of art, whether it's a novel, again, no consequences, a piece of art, a novel, a song,
Yeah.
a film, you could take credit for and get away
That
with.
somebody else did?
Yeah, what would that be? This is sort of the backhanded way of asking about your influences.
Well, there'd be a couple paintings probably that I'm sort of. It would be cool to say you did Guernica. But that's fucking stupid, right? I mean, claim that. I don't know. Maybe like Blue Poles by Jackson Pollock or something like that. Yeah. That's a powerful chunk of art.
Why does that speak to you? Why does that speak to you?
I don't know, I was attracted to the dude just as a dude in his art. And then I actually got some house paint and tried that for a long time just to see if I could control the paint and layer it and try to understand what he was doing. So, yeah, that speaks to me for some reason. As much, and a lot of people dismiss him, and it's like sort of the James Dean of the era of art back then. So he's an intriguing dude. So yeah, I've always liked Jackson Pollock, and I'm a huge Jean-Michel Basquiat, and I love Keith Haring and Mark Ryden and Chris Mars and those folks.
Well, Keith Haring certainly informed some of your earlier work.
Yeah, well, it was weird because I was doing all these paintings, and I think it was Gordon Sabrowski pulled me aside and he said, "Do you know anything about Keith Haring?" And I'm, well, how would I learn about Keith? That was way pre-internet, right? Yeah. And so then I started checking it out and going, "Oh wow, we're doing the same. We're drawing dogs the same way and shit." So I had to kind of like remove myself from that because I didn't want to be like him in a way because I was on the path to just doing what he was doing in a way. Like the shit would have been the same, but I didn't know anything about him.
So
it's kind of bizarre.
You developed that style in a vacuum, as it were.
Yeah, just like probably he did with taking things down to its simplest form.
Yeah. So you switched to rabbits.
Yeah. Well, he did rabbits too, I think. Yeah. Well, I don't know rabbits. I don't know where that came from. Probably from I just always loved rabbits, so it was one of those things that I just drew all the time.
And your zombie books, are you done?
I don't know. I did zombies when zombies weren't cool. I think I'm back writing about vampires now. I don't know. Whatever shows up. Write about cancer. Or cancer songs.
Well, I have asked Troy. I think that Big Old Elk River.
Yeah.
I've asked Troy to. I don't think you've even written the lyrics down. You said last time I spoke to you about it.
No, it's all in my head. That one I wrote in my head.
Yeah, because I wanted to use it in a short story as an epigraph.
I owe you a copy.
You won't write it down.
I'll write it down. That was the other thing after I was sick. I started writing songs in my head like I never could do that before. Once I was in the hospital for that 5 months, just started writing in my head. It's weird, and then stopped writing shit down. All of a sudden, I had like a whole set of songs that I wrote that I never wrote down. They just came out and rehearsed them, and there they were.
And you could stand up tonight and play those songs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I never could do that before. Yeah, pretty weird. It's the hydromorph, I think.
So your house is your studio.
Yep. I got a studio uptown too.
Oh, okay.
Undisclosed location. That's in a basement. So.
I take a different route there every day.
I'm back in the basement. Yeah.
Much to Deb's chagrin, you did pretty much this whole show in your home.
Yeah, I couldn't have done it without her. I would have been fucked without her. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there something that's absolutely vital to you in that creative process that you need around?
Besides Deb, you mean?
Besides Deb.
Rum. What else? Music. Yeah, just like less chaos too. Like if you just put all the chaos aside. I mean, my day job's chaos, so I got to shut that off when I paint, or otherwise I'd be kicking drywall in or something.
Yeah, I was going to say that you do have a chaotic day job,
yeah,
and
it sucks.
The job doesn't suck. The chaos sucks.
It's nice helping people, though. It's good to be on the right side of things, so that's fun. But people are, they're hard to deal with sometimes. They don't even understand how fucked up they are sometimes, which is like you're trying to make them understand how fucked up they are. You could give up sometimes.
Oh, well, I think, sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex knows.
Sort of on that note, so you're, a called you a polymath. You're a bit of a iconoclast. You're a coal miner, and you've got there's a long heritage of coal mining in the valley, and you're still a part of that heritage. Does that inform your work, or does that like how do you? I don't want to say you're not a typical coal miner, because there's lots of people with varied interests, but you are unusual in terms of your.
I started writing songs about Sparwood, so I thought that's never been done, and it probably never will be done. So there's a few things that happened around that snowmobile thing. We had lost a good friend of ours at the mine, so that started drifting into. It became more important to me to connect musically to mining, and hopefully, shed some light to people that we're all doing the same job together. We got to look after each other better, because I think the open coal mining, open pit mining, it's not like underground where guys were tight and took care of each other. So that's kind of what I was looking at, maybe delivering that message that we need to look after each other better.
Well, and you and Alex built that sense of culture with the union at Elkview, that we're part of a heritage.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, yeah. And then working on the Balmer North project, that was super powerful stuff. Talking to those people that hadn't really talked about that mine disaster for, 50 years. The first time they ever got to tell their story. That was, super powerful. And good for the town. That was the biggest thing that town's ever seen in 50 years. I mean, we had, 800 people came out to the opening for that sculpture that we were a part of getting put in the park there. And met so many cool people, and Alex's documentary is absolutely phenomenal. And some of those people are gone now. Some of the people that were in the documentary have passed away. So it's a good thing to do and capture that story. It's a big, powerful, amazing story.
Yeah, it really is. And in that period, I had a fellow come into my office. He had his father's watch.
Yeah.
That stopped at the point of the explosion.
Oh, we know that fella. We've seen that story a few times.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's powerful the first time you hear the story.
Fair enough.
Yeah. There's always a little bit of a darkness to things sometimes.
Well, and I think so you're the grievance chair at Elkview, and I think if you don't have a bit of, not unlike journalism, not unlike art, not unlike, writing full stop.
Yeah.
If you don't have a bit of a gallows sense of humor, you're not going to push it forward. And having just coming through COVID, I think if people don't keep their sense of humor, they're in trouble.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you try and give them. I've been doing it for a long time, so I try to give people that options, or here's maybe another way of looking at it. Let's try this or whatever. Because guys will just give up, and they're drowning in their own despair. So you got to try and say, okay, here's what you got to do, man. But I've been there. I know what it feels like to be completely done, depressed, and not being able to pull your head out of your ass. So I can relate that story to them, and that's kind of one of the advantages I have now, I guess, to help people that way.
Yeah, because you talked about childhood depression and the forces in your life back then, but you've now been through this recent experience with cancer, and so you've got a sort of a broad struggle you can share with people in terms of helping them see the positive.
Oh, they love the cancer stories.
Do they?
No. But that's a good way to shut them out.
Stop your whining and listen to this.
Yeah, here. You want to hear my little story for the day? Yeah.
Well, and your story was, let's be honest, pretty horrific. Like you were in
it was
a coma for.
There's some good times there,
Yeah. Yeah, pretty awful.
I'm sure people can always go, well, there's somebody out there that's worse than you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that is very true.
I'm still sitting here, so I'm grateful for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and for the rest of us, we hope you're sitting here for a lot longer than this.
I appreciate that. Cool.
No, not at all. So is there a question you had hoped I would ask, or you were dreading I would ask?
No, not really.
No?
I mean, the cancer question's always, but people are curious, so.
Well, and you handle it with such grace. I mean, you're so open about it. And
Well,
you
and stuff like you don't normally think about if you don't have cancer and you're sort of potentially going to die sooner than you want to. So you think about things at night like, what's it going to be like when I'm in hospice and when I'm laying there, and what's that going to feel like and what's that going to look like? You got to look at that. If you don't, it'll eat you up.
Yeah.
So you got to take that out and set it there and look at it and figure out how to fucking deal with it. And sometimes you can't.
Very
So
true.
that's the other thing you learn about the whole dying thing.
For those who aren't aware, in your journey there, we were, I think it was a Robbie Burns night actually at Randall's place.
Was that the night we decided to go to the Pixies?
Yeah, we decided to see Pixies in Billings, Montana.
Without checking how far the fucking drive is.
But we got to stop at the, I'm gapping on the name, Piano Pat, and the
Oh yeah, the Sip and Dip in
Sip and
Great
Dip.
Falls. Yeah.
true cultural experience.
Oh yeah.
You've talked about that and written about that, and
Oh, it's such an anomaly and such a cool thing. And she's such a great lady.
yeah, for those of you who've never been, it was like total anachronism. It's a bar with a mermaid swimming behind the bar.
Several mermaids.
Several
They
mermaids.
got a merman there now too.
Yeah.
They upped their game a bit.
Diversity, important. But you didn't force us. You suggested we should drink a fishbowl.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, why not? You have to. You gotta try one.
Yeah, I tried more than one.
I have a record for drinking those. I think they stopped letting people drink that much.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you can't do that anymore. No more contests. People are getting sick and dying because of you. So they stopped it. I think you're allowed 2 or 3. Back when I was heavy into the war with that particular drink, yeah, you could have as many as you wanted.
Yeah, they used to record it on the wall, right? And people would shoot for your target and
They
end
did.
up
They
in
did.
the hospital.
Yeah, my name was on the wall for a while.
I'm
Another proud moment.
another proud
Cancer.
moment. Yeah, it was a great trip, but it was sort of dead center of that experience. And then it was after that you came back and you got really ill, and
Yeah, after the liver surgery. Yeah.
but you had a remarkable sense of humor during the whole thing, like the fact that you would.
Well, it was super funny.
Well, and not to get too personal, but you had you had the colostomy bag, and you named it,
Juan Carlos. Yeah, it's my buddy.
and you had
Well, it's
conversations with it as we drove.
This guy, Scotty, he's a sound man in Victoria at this club we play. And he had one for years, and he called me and he said, yeah, just fucking make it party. You got to name it. I go, name why? He goes, name your fucking ostomy or whatever. Name it. I was like, okay. He's like, call me back an hour later. What are you calling it? I went, I don't know. Juan Carlos, I said. I still don't know where that came from. So yeah, it's Juan Carlos.
Yeah, so there was actually 4 of us went to Pixies.
Yeah, Juan Carlos was with us. He goes where I go.
Yeah, that was great fun. It was a trip of a lifetime, really. I
Oh,
really
it's super
enjoyed
fun.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, they got to open the border so we can go back and do more of that.
Absolutely right.
Go back and lay some flowers on the piano now that piano pad's gone.
Yeah, because she's since passed away, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she.
And you'd sent her some music.
Well, we bought her some music. My buddy Matt and I got to know her pretty good over the years, and no one would bring her like new music, so we were at some crazy music store on the way there. I think maybe we were in Missoula, and I found a place where there was some music. So we bought all this organ music and we brought it to her. She was overwhelmed. She was like, "Oh my God, no one's ever done that for me." So it's like, okay, you can stop playing the same 5 songs now.
Speaking of organs, organs play a significant part of the show, but both
Yeah.
the blues organ and the human heart. Talk about that. Like,
I don't know. The image came through, and it's sort of like you have the symbol, you know, the heart shape, and I thought I would fuck it up by making it look like a real heart at the same time. And it just kind of was sort of became the theme of the show, sort of, that I'd put everywhere. Because it just kind of worked everywhere as far as that connection from symbolism to, you know, like the real thing.
Yeah, because they're quasi anatomical hearts, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, and I did some drawings of hearts and got into it for a while there before I started the show. But I don't know why, but it's sort of the symbol of your being, I guess. And I wanted to fuck with it a bit, make it more, take that sort of like, you know, the sort of embarrassingness of the symbol, like a heart symbol, and just, you know, it's like throwing paint on a yuppie, you know. It's like, that's what I felt like doing. I just wanted to mess with it, so it was sort of like, yeah, that's a heart, but there's valves hanging out of it, and there's blood shooting from it, you know. That it's, because I think sometimes, especially around any of those like hard topics like death or whatever, people just don't bear down and actually acknowledge what's going on for real.
Did you think about it before your cancer diagnosis, or did you think about it?
About death?
About death.
Oh yeah. More in
Esoteric.
yeah,
Out there.
in a fun way. More in a fun way. Well, I mean, I messed with it because it disturbs people. So it's fun to, you know, have that in your art. People actually listening to what you're doing and like, oh fuck, dude, that was dark, you know.
Yeah.
Then you've, you know, accomplished maybe what you're after when you're writing or painting or doing whatever.
Right.
So yeah, no, I've always been chasing that one around.
Oh, good for you. So I'm out of questions, Troy. Does anybody in the...
Thank God.
But it does occur to me, you know, talking about hearts, I think it was actually Kevin McIsaac. He's looking at his watch.
I know. It's nice to watch, guys. You won't miss last call. We have lots of liquor.
But Kevin said to me at one point about how people, you know, the human heart, there's theories about you only have so many beats, right? I was talking to somebody today, and I might have actually been here this evening, who said, you know, traveling during COVID, they weren't going to waste 7 months of heartbeat to get somewhere and not be able to come back. And I thought that to me was like really profound, because it sort of strikes, you know, there's a limit to how long your heart will beat, and I think that, you know, that really resonates with your show.
Yeah, I think, you know, the COVID stuff definitely weighed on it a bit, but Deb and I are like, it's funny, like we did all right. We enjoyed COVID in some ways. You know, like, oh fuck, we don't have to look at him today, and we don't have to go to the office today, and we just stay home and paint and walk around in my underwear. I mean, it was blissful for the most part, you know. Especially as an artist, like you just stay home and work on art. It's great that way. Except for shows, like I like playing live, and there's only so many Zoom concerts you can do before people are like, okay, that's enough of that. Shut that off.
And you're planning a concert for the end of this show.
August, I think the 26th. I think it's a Thursday. That's the tentative date for the concert. Yeah.
So put that in your calendar, and we'll all be here. And
yeah, it'll be good. I'm
hear
gonna
you
play some of the songs that I wrote about or painted about in the concert, the show. Yeah.
Very cool. Does anyone in the crowd have a question for Troy while we got him here and a microphone in his hand?
What's your favorite color?
Depends who I'm showing the color to. If it was some crazy redneck, it would be pink for sure. Pink disturbs men. I don't know why. I enjoy that part of it, so that's why all my gear's pink. Cause it pisses some of those, indebted white folks. Scares them a bit. Yeah.
Can you talk a little more about This Must Be the Place?
Uh-huh.
You just briefly touched on that, about that being your favorite piece.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Just a little bit more kind of insight on how that song came into its own thing. Because for me too, I'm standing up and looking at that.
Yeah.
And I know that song really well, so I really relate to a lot of the stuff that's happening. But for you, like, what sort of other things?
It was sort of a darker take on it. And maybe the title, like, This Must Be the Place. I I think it's sort of like where things land, whether you want them to land there or not. Like, there's a couple of characters on the right side of the painting. They're definitely sort of like demonistic, I guess, and they're kind of like doing whatever they're told. That can happen in the place that you think is, you know, paradise, where it's like maybe not. So, and there's sort of like I was going for some sort of like confusion around something like that, acceptance of a place. And then, you know, I thought about town, and I thought about how much it's changed in the time I've been here. Like, it's crazy in 50 years what I've seen in this town and where it's going. And so yeah, it's like, I think just, you know, that you can't really call something like this is the place, because it's going to change quickly around you. Or you're going to change quickly. You're going to get sick and die, or you're going to, you know, experience something that's going to change what you do. Like, you know, like me, I can't go swimming anymore. You know, there's things I can't do because of my condition. So you don't think about that when you're declaring that this is where I'm going to be, this is the place. Things can change, and if they do, it's sort of like, that's almost like a dishonest thing to say, in a way. That's kind of what was happening in my brain as I was laying that paint out on that one.
Speaking of this is the place, you have a very strong affinity for the state of Montana.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I think it's underrated, and there's lots of character there. Like, you go to, there's a bar everywhere. Like, you get off the side of the road to take a whiz in the bush and walk 30 feet, and you'll find a bar. And then there's people in there that are just like, there's such character. And but there's also like you know, there's like great food there. There's great people there. It's so misunderstood. So that's what I love about it. And every time I go there, I find something new. Like, visually too, it's just like so diverse. Like, you got desert, you got crazy mountains, you got, yeah, it's fun. It's a super underrated place. It's a secret place in a way still.
Yeah, and I think there's just sort of touching what you were saying about sort of being misunderstood. There's this, because they're Americans from a red state, they're not bad people.
No.
And, you know, I had an experience, for example, where I was in Troy, Montana, where a guy in a MAGA hat walked me all the way to City Hall because I was lost. And super decent guy.
Well, I regularly meet with my Republican friends in Kalispell, and yeah, we talk about things, and I learn from them. Like, they're not there to, I mean, you have the types that are going to beat you over the head with it, like, but my friends aren't like that. They might like Trump, but they'll tell me why, and they have reasons. There's no stupid reasons, really, but just to understand why they think that way. It's important to, you know, like, too often we just like dismiss them all as being crazy people, and they're not like that. And then, you know, like, you'll go to Missoula, which is pretty democratic as far as, it's the one little blue spot in the area. There's part of Billings too, but yeah, there's people everywhere like that. That's part of the charm of the place. They don't, and in a lot of those places, they'll put people into power based on the person, not about their politics.
Yeah.
They do that a lot in Montana. I can't remember, there's a mayor, might have been, yeah, I can't remember which city, but he's like full-on black fella, Democrat. There's no reason in hell he should have got elected, and he did. And he asked people, are like, well, he's a good guy. We don't look at the fact that he's a Democrat or he's black. He's just a good dude. And I was like, wow, there you go. Another reason to, you know, I like John Tester and people like that. Kind of like, he looks totally like a Republican, but he's not even close. Pearl Jam hang out with him, you know, it's like, it doesn't make sense. So that's what I like about Montana. It's really, yeah, you'll find stuff every time you go there. Every time I go there, I find something cool.
Well, and it you know, reflecting on your show and your writing and your songwriting, it is that notion of, you know, don't lump people together and write them all off, right?
Well, and it's right there. Like, you can leave here in an hour, be beside the Flathead Lake in a cherry orchard, like 40 minutes from here.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, it's right there. So why aren't we going there and, you know, worshiping those places, because they're really cool.
Well, personally, I want to say thank you. It's been a great honor. Thanks so much for including me in this. It's a wonderful show, and I know everyone here will encourage their. Oh, yeah, we got you this as a little thank you.
Oh, what's this, booze?
Scotch.
Sweet. Cancer booze. Kevin, he'll just take the top and throw it away. He did that when we were at the death rate.
He did, yeah. Open a bottle of scotch.
And he was right.
threw it
There
away.
was no need to keep that
No.
cap anymore.
Thank you very much. If make sure you tell your friends about the show.
I just got some thank yous I want to do.
Oh, absolutely, Troy. Please.
Yeah, big thanks to Lori for asking me to do the show. I know she's not here, and it was kind of funny because, oh, don't start painting yet. There's like the second week in May, and she said, okay, you can start painting. Can we have the show by, like June 1st? I'm like, what? So no, I can't do it by then, but I could get it done by July maybe, and that's what happened. Big thanks to Wapiti for, I never had a corporate sponsor before. The Wapiti
You don't
folks
have
helped me
one
out.
now.
Yeah, I do.
You're not a corporation.
Well, whatever. I got a big ass. I got a big ass sponsor. How about that? They're not corporate, but whatever.
Who's got the big ass? Troy.
I have a big ass. So. Oh, Mark Kulicia for the frames. Where is he? If you guys need anything built, man, the guy's he's a real artist, and I just said, here's what I need, and I turned him loose, and he did some really great stuff for me on that, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, put Mark to work. Let's keep him out of the oil patch. Let's keep him in Fernie. Casey and Sam, thanks for helping me move my the beast. I didn't know what I was going to do that day. I was going to just bring him in the car one at a time, but then the lad showed up and helped me, so thanks for that. I want to thank you for today. Thanks for being here and doing this. That was fun. Fernie Stationers, I got to thank Edith down there at the. I tried to buy everything locally. It was funny because I was like running around all over Calgary looking for these big canvases, and I couldn't find a fucking thing. I went down there and I was just like offhandedly said, well, it'd be great to have some 4x4 foot canvases. And then a week later I walked in, she goes, I got your canvases. I go, well, I didn't ask you to get me canvases. And then the whole store was full of canvases after that. So I don't know if she did that, but she pulled it off, and it was like, yeah, the show wouldn't have happened without her. So go down there. If you're gonna buy her supplies, buy them locally and buy them from her, because she's an awesome lady. Yeah, and thanks again to to Sarah, and big thanks to Laura Nelson for hanging the show. I just turned her loose on. I just said these 4 paintings need to go here, and then she threw me out and did the rest. So it looks great because of her, not because of me. So yeah, thanks, and obviously the only person that I thank more than anybody, my wife Deborah. I wouldn't be here doing any of this if it wasn't her. So give her a big hug, buy her a drink, and she might not be mean to me tonight. And thanks for coming to the show, and thanks for being supportive. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.